a good offseason.
It's been good. It's been busy. Personally, I've enjoyed a couple vacations, so I'm kind of recharged and ready to go out to CBR.
Got me beat.
What do you think of being your outfielder?
I'm excited. It's until it finally gets done, you obviously hold your breath, but I've seen AJ for quite some time, and I think for me, everything I've heard as far as the preparation and what we see on a nightly basis, the way he plays, with the intensity, the focus, he's going to fit in really well with our ball club.
When you look at the guys that have been subtracted from last year and the guys that you've added, how do you see the team get better?
Well, I think that Joe Kelly really tightening up our bullpen, and also with the strides of Baez, Ferguson, I think our bullpen is in a really good spot. Obviously, getting Singrani back as well. Starting staff, obviously you lose Wood, but then you're counting on Ryu to come back healthy, and then Urias to come back, and so with the depth that we have, and Walker obviously taking strides. So on the starting staff, I still like the depth and like the talent. Position player wise, now I think that adding AJ doesn't make us as vulnerable against left-handed pitching. There's a lot more balance, and defensively, I think that with the guys that we have, and obviously with Verdugo as a young player, potentially getting a nice runway, he can do some things on both sides of baseball. So I think that, to be honest, I think that there's no reason we shouldn't be better. You lose a catcher in Rondal, but the tandem of Barnes and Martin, I think the individual at bat quality should be better. And I can't say the production, but I still think that those guys in a lineup and handling a pitching staff, there's not a whole lot of drop-off from there.
It seems like you've lost a lot of offense in those guys that are gone, though. Brendel, Kenley, Machado, gave you a lot of offense last year.
Yeah, but you're also getting Corey Seager back too, and you lose guys like Kemp and Puig, but Pollock has been a very consistent player. So I think that having him and Corey Seager back, I think offensively, I think we'll be actually a lot more consistent.
Is AJ an everyday player in your mind, or is he?
No, he's certainly not. I don't think that you go out and sign a player like that to even bring in the word platoon. You look at last year, I think he hit righties, right-handers better than he did left-handers. So he's a guy that I think that he's going to play. He's going to play every day. But I think that the idea of giving him days off, getting ahead of things, with the rigors of a long season, I think that that's something that I'm going to have a conversation with him. But when you're talking about every day versus not every day, he's an everyday player.
How confident do you feel with Max Muncy having another type of year like he did last year?
There's going to be a little bit of adjustment. I think that against a lefty in the second half, he really curtailed. But he's talked to him a couple weeks ago. He's in great shape. He's a very intelligent baseball player. He knows the strike zone. So for him to bet on him having a follow-up season like that, I think it's a fair ask. But that still remains to be seen, because this league is very good and they exploit weaknesses. But his ability, again, to differentiate between strike and ball is a huge plus for him.
So what's the year 2 World Series hangover going to look like?
I don't. You know what? You never really want to kind of, I guess, address the elephant in the room. But I do, for me personally, I haven't addressed the team yet. I'm seeing kind of how the mood is when we get to CBR, but where we were at, 17 was a lot tougher. And so for me, it's Game 7, and last year what we went through and how we kind of got and fought to get back to the World Series. I think it was a positive season. I think ultimately we didn't win a championship, but I think that there's a lot of people that counted us out in April. So I think for me, it's looking at there's a little traction with our organization and our ball club. So I think that that's going to be my message, as opposed to this is a team that's in disarray and that's hungover from the World Series. So I think that my mindset, our mindset, I think will be a positive.
What about second base situation? Will that be the change?
I can see Max at second base a little bit. I can see Kike and Taylor, vying for at bats at second base. I can see Kike and Taylor spelling Corey a little bit at short. Second base is something where we have a lot of options, but we haven't defined who's going to get the lion's share yet at second base.
What do you focus on coming out spring training?
Well, I think last year, outside of JT, I thought we did a very good job, and that was kind of a freak injury late with the hand. But finding the balance between getting them prepared, and their at-bats and their pitches and the pitch counts versus not taxing them too much. So I think that recovery, that's probably the focus. It's a good, talented group, and you guys know this. So it's a professional group. Even our young players have been in the World Series 2 years in a row. So it's a group that knows how to prepare for a Major League season.
I spoke to Turner recently, and he seemed to suggest that what happened early last year wasn't so much a hangover as much as maybe, the year before it was kind of long, and maybe guys didn't know how to pace themselves properly through spring training, and maybe something went awry in that. Do you buy that at all?
There might have been some of that. But I do think that if you look at the workload last year, we did a lot less than we did years past. Losing Justin Turner hurt too. So he'll never say that. And I don't like that term hangover, and so it's on me and the coaches to make sure that we're not talking about a hangover, so we can get out of the gates the way we're supposed to.
Dave, you've already addressed this conversation you had with Rich Hill on the mound in the World Series. As a communicator that you are, how big is that for you moving forward, a learning lesson?
It is, and I think that it's obviously in that situation you never want to tap in, obviously in that stage, but I think that any leader, any manager, if there's a kind of not clarity on communication, then that's on that person. So I've got no problem trying to get better with that. So that's something I got to continue to get better at.
With Pollock around now, does that mean Cody would be first and right and left sort of going to
Pollock is going to get the lion's share in center field, obviously. With Cody, I expect him to log the most plate appearances this year as a player. So, where that is, I'll have that conversation with Cody. But, he's a young, versatile, athletic player that gives you good at-bats, and he's productive offensively, defensively. He's very talented. And so the priority for us, and I know this, is that when he's in the lineup, he makes us better. So we'll have that conversation.
Earlier, Andrew said that the team last year was a little bit inconsistent, and the focus this year was going to be on consistency. What can you do as a manager to, help promote that and get that going with the guys?
I think that offensively, it's just, that's why you bring in guys like A.J. Pollock. And I think having Corey Seager back will just kind of add to that consistency. And I think Max Muncy. So there's guys that we had that were very streaky last year, that some guys are still with us, some guys aren't. So I think that it's not an exact science, but you look at certain track records, and some of the guys that we're having in our lineup are a little bit more consistent, and that's our focus.
You like to do leaner, meaner looking Kenley Johnson?
I do. I do. Kenley had a big, unfortunate wake-up call with the heart, and so we took care of that with the surgery, and he's in fantastic shape. And the thing is that you always want to, you sort of worry about as far as if you lose weight, are you going to lose strength and velocity? But he says he feels just as strong as he ever has. So he's got more energy than he did before. So we'll see when he gets on the mound.
What do you do like if he loses velo? Like you tell him to like
To just
gorge
go
himself?
back to in and out.
But then like that becomes like a health thing, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the health. I think with Kenley, and we've seen this with Kenley. It's not always the velocity; it's the late movement. And so, whether he's throwing 94 or 90 and it's straight, he's a different pitcher. Whether he's throwing 90, 94 with that late cut. So we'll see.